Well, good morning. This is Keithanthony Taylor of London Overcomers Real Pain. And I'm very privileged to have with me Lance Baker. And just to quickly tell you a little bit about Lance Baker, he runs a website called Branches of Healing. And some years ago, he was experiencing migraines that went on for many years. And after an MRI, they discovered he had a large arachnoid cyst on his brain. Goodness. And eventually had brain surgery on August the 5th of 2004. And would you know it, they botched it. And he was still in pain for a number of years until in around 2014, he met a Reiki practitioner, and he didn't have much faith in that, but he thought he'd give it a go. And it worked, and the pain started to go, and that was being done by a young lady called Leander. And then after that, it was just a natural process that Lance started to learn Reiki himself, and eventually started to move into hypnosis and studied hypnosis with the Australian Academy of Hypnosis, and started teaching hypnosis himself. And as they say, the rest is history. So Lance, welcome to the show. It's a fabulous honor to have you here. And perhaps you could start to tell me something about the history. Let's go back to the beginning, before you started having those migraines. What were you doing before that? What sort of career did you have?
My career was in sales and management before that. I ran carpet stores.
What? I didn't catch that. What?
Carpet stores I ran. Did sales training and sales management within those stores, and operated them and sold the carpet myself and measured up houses, sometimes laid it. Mostly the business operation side of things.
Well, that's amazing, because I was in sales myself. It's amazing the number of times I come upon people who are in hypnosis and in sales just like me. It's what do they call it? Synchronicity, isn't it? And to those people who are listening on YouTube and in Facebook, do please send your comments in, and I'll do the best I can to respond and reply. So you did that straight out of school or university?
Straight out of school, I studied theology and left that and just did general retail-y sort of sales jobs, some warehouse work. But yeah. And you loved that, didn't you? They had to drag you out of work by your fingernails to get you to go home, did they? No, I was happy to leave.
You were happy to leave, I see, like many of us. So when did you start getting the headaches?
For as long as I can remember, I had them every month or so. But it was a migraine that was 24/7 for nearly a decade from the moment I woke up from that operation. So it was much worse after the operation. Before that, it was just sporadic. My left ear had been blocked for about 5 years before that operation. That was the main irritation I had, to be convinced that the gigantic thing about as big as my fist on my brain, he was a problem, and that they could get rid of it.
Yeah. So what happened with the operation? Did they remove the cyst?
An arachnoid cyst is the arachnoid membrane that covers your brain, holds all the cerebral fluid in. It's called arachnoid because it looks spider webbish. Just has a pocket. So it was just a sac filled with cerebral fluid. So it was only excess cerebral fluid compressing the rest of my brain. They were just going to cut 2 holes in it. So they drilled a hole in here, then went in, cut the membrane, went through, cut the membrane on the other side, and just let it flow out. But it just sealed back up and went back to the same shape pretty much instantly. Except pain.
So does that mean there's a big space inside your skull?
Yeah, I've still got the thing there. It's still exactly as it was. I just don't have the pain associated with it.
I see. then that I was just picturing a big space that perhaps they might have to fill with some kind of medium to take up the whole.
No, it's just filled with cerebral fluid still, but the brain's supposed to decompress and fill the normal skull cavity again, was what the process that was promised to me was meant to be.
Okay. I'd like to say welcome to Kat Jennings Vecchione, who I know is in the chat in Facebook. And I just had a directly at Facebook. For some reason, I'm not getting the message here in StreamYard. They should be coming into StreamYard. And, actually, I see what the problem is. There they are. And I had to open up the box. There they are. So welcome, Kat Jennings Vecchione. And thank you for the comment. You're saying, let's have a look at what you are saying. There we are. Used to get migraines like crazy as well. And unfortunately, I do get migraines all the time because I've been in constant pain ever since I was a kid. And particularly since I had a head injury in 78. But so you've have you actually stopped the migraines now?
Yeah, they stopped around I think it was early April, 8 years ago.
That's good. And so you Leanna, was it, taught you Reiki? And when you had the Reiki, did you actually feel anything happening?
Yeah, the first time I had a session with her, I thought I was just ticking a box. I told myself I'd try everything again because I got sick of being in constant pain. And no matter how stupid it was, I was going to try it. And so I tried everything I'd already tried before again and was trying different things that popped up. Somebody mentioned Reiki. I went to do it and they couldn't get that person available at that time. Then I bumped into Leander about a month or two later and knew she did it from her business card. So I booked a session and I was laying on her table. She did completely non-touch sort of Reiki. And she turns out she doesn't really do Reiki often. She just does various other forms of energy healing. Just use that term because that's what's culturally known. And she, so she's doing her thing. I'm laying on her table, my eyes closed, and I'm sitting there, imagine pulling money out of my wallet and setting it on fire, thinking this is a joke. She's just sitting in the corner reading a book or playing with her tarot cards or something. And then about halfway through, I felt this sensation of something being pulled out of the side of my head, out of the hole that's there. And I was hyper aware of every sensation around my head. So I'd never felt anything like that before. So I knew she was doing something and she had my attention. So I went a few times and got little improvements. I didn't get much, just a little bit. It took the edge off, I think, at about that stage. On the pain scale, like over the decade, the best I ever felt was a 3. I'd come up with at least a dozen new 10s, and often I sat around a 5 or a 6. I don't think I dropped below a 5 at that period for about a month or two. And from seeing her, I think I got down to about a 4. It improved a little bit, but she didn't teach me. I learned off somebody else, and that was just on a whim. I just late on a Thursday night, I typed in meditation class this Saturday in Newcastle because I was looking to learn meditation as well. And normally Buddhist centers and people like myself pop up, and then Newcastle upon a time places pop up, but nothing about meditation come up. But a thing did come up about a Reiki class that was on that Saturday out in the bush, about an hour from my home. So I signed up and I went and learned. And it was within a little bit over a week and a half from when I learned it, that pain just was gone completely. I never expected it to disappear. I thought I'd just be able to continually take the edge off, but it was just gone. I remember the moment when I noticed I'd built a little man cave thing in the back of the house that I lived in. It was like separate to the house. I was working an evening shift, Thursday night trading, so I had like the morning free and had to be at work by 11. And so I'd be playing around in the office and was about to leave to go to work. And I remember having one foot in that man cave thing and one foot in my backyard, holding the door handle thing. I'm forgetting something. What do I have to get? I've got my keys, I've got my wallet, I've got my phone. I have the migraine. The migraine's not there. I can forget that. Closed the door, left and went to work. And I kept expecting it to come back, even though I wasn't looking for it. It was part of my life. It was the stranger that followed me everywhere. So I was expecting that, and it just stayed away, which is amazing.
That's amazing. That's a miracle. I've had some strange experiences with Reiki myself, because I've been to 2 Reiki classes, and the first one I went to, I had a migraine, and they put me on the table and had this bunch of people around me who I thought were very strange and waving their hands over me. It had no effect whatsoever. And they encouraged me to come back to have a lesson. So I went back to have this lesson, and we sat around drinking tea for a bit. And then we had this lady on the table who had a migraine. And I said, what am I supposed to do? And they said, do whatever you feel. So they were all standing around the table with this lady, and they were waving their hands around. And I was out of head. And so I sort of put my hands above her head. And at the end of the thing, that the lady thanked me. She said, I couldn't feel anything from anybody except you, and you made my headache go. And I thought, but they never taught me anything about Reiki. They didn't talk about Reiki, and they never invited me back. So that was the sum total of my knowledge of Reiki. So I was really keen to learn about Reiki, but I never did learn about Reiki. But I still have a lot of faith in it. And I think I did her more good than the others did. But they were. Yes. I don't think they were real Reiki people somehow.
Some people are not. But with the processes I was doing when I healed myself, I was following intuition. I wasn't doing exactly what they showed me in the class. And in hindsight now, with the knowledge I have, I know what I was doing was mesmeric processes for a lot of it, which hypnosis has its roots in energy, in a thing very much like Reiki. From what I've studied of Reiki and its history, I think the Yusui, the guy who started Reiki, he'd traveled Europe early 1900s, studying psychology, healing, and psychic arts. Now, there's no way you could have gone anywhere in Europe looking at any one of those things and not ran into somebody who did animal magnetism or mesmerism back then. So I think it ties very well with hypnosis in its original roots.
Yes, and I'd like to welcome Daniel Ganame. Good to see you. I was on my show a couple of weeks ago. And welcome all the way from Lebanon. I hope you're well, Daniel. Good to see you.
Welcome, Daniel. I just listened to that show a few hours ago while I was driving.
It was good, wasn't it? And my introductory comment, I think, was tell me about the hummus.
Yes. And he mentioned in there the lecture he did for the Elman conference, and I was in on that lecture. It was fantastic. It was great. I recommend people check it out when the recordings are released.
Yes, I hope I get to hear that. It would be good. Yes, I think I know about the energy, because I remember many years ago I had a girlfriend who was, and this is when I discovered energy. I think I had a girlfriend who had back pain, and she was complaining, and I said, "Would you like me to fix it?" And I was only joking, and she says, "How can you do it?" I said, "Well, I'll just wave my hands over it and it'll go." So she's okay. So I waved my hands over her back. And she said, "Oh, that's amazing." I said, "What's amazing?" She said, "The pain's going." But she said, "It's too hot. Move your hands away." And well, was nobody more surprised than me, because I was only messing about. And so I do know that my hands have power. And very often it's not my hands. People have told me it's my voice, just the sound of my voice. My mother used to tell me that I had to keep my mouth shut, and she used to beat me up if I didn't. But now people say that it's the sound of my voice that does it, and that's more, I think, not necessarily the voice, but my intention. Because when I'm with people, it's my intention that they be healed, and it just goes through the voice.
Well, the core philosophy behind mesmerism is believe and want. Maki Poisiga delivered a lecture on that way back in the early days of animal magnetism, and that's how he finished the class. Was this is the core principle. As long as you believe you can make that change for that client and you want that change, that will happen, because that's what the energy is following, is that intention.
Yes. Well, we do have Kat Jennings Vecchione in the chat room there, and I know she won't mind me saying this because I've had her permission previously. But when I first met Kat, she was recommended to me by a friend of mine in Australia, and I contacted Kat, and she had back pain, and she was broadcasting herself because she's a podcaster, and so I contacted her while she was broadcasting, and let's just get this on the screen. She says, "I'm not a hypnotist, just a client of Keithanthony's and a good friend, but he has done an amazing job of healing on me." And she's in Orlando, actually. But to cut a long story short, she had to have surgery done. I won't tell you what surgery because I know she doesn't want me to, but she had some serious surgery done, and she couldn't be intubated. Had to for the anaesthetist because she had a complete U-bend in her neck. Her chin was on her left breast, and I said, "Well, okay, turn the camera on. Let's have a look at you." And when I saw her, I was looking at the back of her head, and I said, "When is the surgery?" She said, "In 2 days' time." And the anaesthetist or the surgeon had suggested she have hypnotism to sort it out. And I thought, wow, this is a big job for hypnosis. But I gave her 2 sessions of 2 hours of hypnosis, and I had to use powerful intention. But in the last 5 minutes of the second session, her neck literally popped up like that, and it was incredible to see. And unfortunately, I didn't have it videoed. I wish I had the camera turned on, and it would have been an amazing video. But I was very much using my powers of intention and beaming that power across. And this was in Skype. And Kat was an amazing subject, and she is an amazing woman. And absolutely incredible that she was capable of straightening her spine like that. Absolutely amazing. And fantastic was. But let's talk about me. We need to be talking more about you, because the interview is with you, Lance. So you're a Reiki master now. How you've been? Was that 2014? You qualified?
I think it was, yes. It would have been somewhere about there.
Yeah, you must have done some amazing things with Reiki. Don't let me put words in your mouth.
I teach it every month because of the impact it's had on my life. I find I do more amazing things with hypnosis than I do with Reiki on a day-to-day basis for people, but I've had some profound healings happen. The very first paying client I had gave me a Jesus complex for a brief few seconds. Got up carrying crutches and walking out with a shattered hip. But I didn't fuse any bones together, and just the energy had made those muscles work again and took the pain away, so that something that looked miraculous happened, but it was not quite anywhere near as miraculous as it was in that initial moment. So I had from that very early start this understanding that not everything is as powerful as it looks, but with that power can create amazing things. That lady, it made a profound difference in her life till she got her hip replacement, being able to to have energy to manage that pain along the way and give more mobility. And that sort of thing I see quite often. I've seen a lot of things that miraculous healings in the way of something that somebody couldn't have had done with the other things they've explored. But unless they've changed a life pattern, sometimes these things reoccur. That's where the hypnosis comes in, that you can change that pattern of what they're doing to have their energy imbalanced. So I find, if I reset somebody's energy systems to be perfectly normal again, in a month or two, if they're doing the same behaviors they were doing beforehand that were the root cause of that energy imbalance, then they're just going to feel exactly the same as they did before they come in.
Mm-hmm. And you get do you get a lot of pain clients coming to you?
Surprisingly, no. I have pain every now and then, but it's the core thing of my business has developed into dealing with trauma and anxieties are the main things. That's mostly just because of referrals, I think, of making that difference in people's lives, of freeing them from those struggles that they don't stop talking about you to everybody they know. So that gets other people.
I see. I noticed on your website and various other places, you talk about the Akasha. Are you well versed in the Akasha and the Akasha records? Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Akasha is a word for energy. So it's the term I prefer to use rather than chi or prana or all these other things. I like Akasha. So Akashic records are where the information of life is held. I'm not somebody who delves into that side of things. So that's a different thing. So it's the energetic records of life. But I deal with the energy for healing purposes, not for knowing what happened thousands of years ago. Although sometimes, as you've probably noticed within hypnosis, you get spontaneous past life regressions and you hear about things that happened thousands of years ago.
Yeah, I spiked my interest because I don't want to talk about it, but I've had a near-death experience, and I've had a glimpse into the Akashic record myself that was quite profound. And I'm not here to talk about that now. And I wondered if you had perhaps had a glimpse into it yourself.
The only glimpse I've had into it myself was during a Simpson Protocol session where it was Inez doing the session, took me to the Akashic Records to see if there was anything I needed to get from there. And I sneakily put my hand inside my rib cage sort of thing and pulled a book out and put it back on the shelf and said, I'm done. So apparently at some stage in my soul's existence, I snuck something out of the records and hid it and returned it. I have no idea what it means. It could just be something imagined, but it was just an odd moment.
You snuck a book out and put it back, but you've no idea what the book was?
No idea what it was. I had no idea when I snuck it out, but it was hidden inside my chest until that moment in the session. I pulled it out, put it back.
And you described that during the session to Inez.
Yeah. And I don't normally get impressions of things. I've got aphantasia, where I've got blackness when my eyes are closed, and in hypnosis sessions I've had 3 or 4 moments where I've had glimpses of things over my whole lifetime, and that's it. And this was one of them.
Probably may or may not be related, but when I had my near-death experience, I saw a book, which was the book of my life, and it was on a plinth, a fluted plinth with a lectern on the top, and this was the book of my life, and everything about my life was in that book, and it looked like a very large Bible. And although it was written in that book in book form, I viewed my entire life in a visual format, like it was a movie, although it was written in a book. But that maybe that book that you had, you was the book of your life that you sneaked out and sneaked back in for some reason.
Maybe.
But who knows? Maybe you was trying to have a sneak preview of where it all goes or how it all ends.
Maybe. I was hoping it's something like snuck away some secret to the universe that makes everybody be nice and take care of each other rather than treat each other like rubbish. And from now, it's going to be the case of everybody be nice again, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
Yes. So I guess this must have been after you, well, it would have been most certainly after you became a hypnotist.
Yes. Yeah, this would have been
fairly recently?
4 years ago or something like that, probably.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'd love to have one of their sessions myself one of these days. And although I don't know if she'd manage, because I've never actually been hypnotized successfully by anybody, except maybe myself.
She uses the Elman induction process. So
yeah.
I'm sure over the years somebody's tried the Elman on you.
I've only ever been hypnotized online, as far as I remember. Yes, I've only been hypnotized online, never face to face. Not that I can remember. I've had a lot of I've had a lot of people ask me to hypnotize them. I've hypnotized people, including some top hypnotherapists, including people like Valerie Austin. I've hypnotized several times, and several others. I think I've hypnotized because I've got this head injury thing going on. I can't remember the names. I see their faces. I can't remember the names. But never mind.
I've seen a few things of your experimental practice group, and I presume that's where some of those sessions happen.
Where was that?
Oh, maybe a year or two ago you used to run them, I thought.
Did I? I can't recall.
As a Zoom or Skype group sort of thing.
Oh, I used to. I did a Zoom meeting once a week or so. Yes, I did. Oh, I did 60 of those. Occasionally, I hypnotized somebody. Not that often. And what did you think of those?
I'd never end up getting to one, but I seen you post a couple of videos of some on. I think it was Stephanie's group.
All right. That was the name I was trying to think of. I think I've hypnotized her once or so, I think, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the future hold for you? Who knows?
I'm not a fortune teller, so I couldn't say. At the moment, I'm working on a new book and an online class, but otherwise I'll just be running my practice and doing my normal in-person classes as long as COVID allows. And when not, move those online.
Tell us, you've written several books, I think, haven't you?
2 small books, yes. I've got a tiny one on the chakra system, our energy system throughout our body. It's just a very brief overview of the kind of thing I was looking for when I'd started doing energy healing. It's just an Amazon ebook. And another one on idiomotor response and working with that in a therapeutic method. So it's not it's not for a novice. It's not teaching you how to get that sort of thing. It's about how to work with it therapeutically to make change, where I teach some of the things from my old days in sales of what I use that to negotiate with consciousness to make change and engage in two-way conversation with binary things of idiomotor responses of yes, no, maybe, I don't know, processes to get a result for change. Every bit of hypnosis work I do everything I can to at least open a gateway for communication from that deeper aspect inside, whether I'm just talking to the subconscious or parts within, and get feedback, whether it's idiomotor response or automatic writing or direct voice or something like that.
And are you a mesmerist? I'm suspecting you probably are.
Yes.
Yeah, and what was it? Rick who taught you that?
Yes, I originally learnt off Rick, and I have a massive library of old mesmerism books that I go to learn extra things off people long past. And mesmerism as well, you learn a lot by using it. It kind of, once you're introduced to the process teaches you.
I must speak to you later about that, because I don't know anything about mesmerism, but I would seriously like to learn about it. And I know James Paul, who's Valerie's husband, Valerie Austin's husband. He was taught by the Mesmer family, and he probably knows more about mesmerism than anybody. But he's not teaching it anymore, I don't think, and I would love to learn it from him.
I'm not sure how that could happen. Mesmer didn't have any children, so there is no Mesmer family alive in a timeline that somebody living could have learnt from.
He had cousins, and there was the Mesmer aristocracy who knew how to do it, and that's who learnt it from.
Okay.
So I would love to learn it from him, because he's very clever at it. He's not cheap, and he doesn't seem to be teaching it anymore. But he's a lovely man. He's very clever, and I think I would get a thorough grounding in it from James. If you're listening, James, I'm up for it, and I'm ready to learn. But yeah. So I'm trying. I think we've covered everything, haven't we? Do you think we've covered everything? Is there anything else you would like to offer us?
No. If somebody's got a chronic pain or something like that, since that's your audience, the first thing I'd look at is checking if it's a signal. So whenever I do have pain clients, I won't just take away that pain first. Like I said, my hypnosis processes, I try and engage in conversation with a deeper aspect, because I want to know if that pain is there for a purpose. Is that there to try and convince them of something? Because if you get rid of that pain, it's either going to come back, and if it comes back, it'll usually come back with a vengeance and be a little bit stronger, or it will come back in a different way, and it'll just be a different process to get their attention. And so if that's the way they're manifesting a thing, I want to change that signal so it can be something they listen to. So I clearly remember one guy I worked with who had severe back pain. He couldn't sit in a chair for more than half an hour. He couldn't do a lot of things in life because of this debilitating back pain he had. And I did my processes with him, and I changed the signal. So it wasn't pain. I got his consciousness to come up with a new signal. It was a sugary taste on the right side of his tongue. So the right half of his tongue tasted like sugar. That was his signal. Stop what you're doing. Rest. Because he'd listen to the pain. If his back hurt too much, he'd have to lie down. So he'd get this sugary feeling. He'd stop doing what he was doing, and he'd rest. Lasted about 2 weeks. Back pain was back.
Mm-hmm.
Spoke to him. What happened? Oh, well, I didn't mind the sugary taste. I like sugar. So I kept mowing. I kept doing this. I kept doing that. His consciousness realized, well, that signal wouldn't work anymore. Let's go back to the one that works. So you can replace the signal, but you've got to listen to it. Listen to what this part of you is doing. So some people's pain is there because their consciousness is trying to tell them, leave your job, leave your area you live in, leave some member of your family alone, whatever. Make some sort of barrier between you and some thing in your life, whether it's a physical activity, an emotional thing, or what. And if that's the case, you can get rid of that pain quite easy if you pay attention to what that signal is and action it. Some pains are old and a waste of time. the pain I had for a decade, I think, was useless most of the time. I knew I had a problem with my head. The spikes were good signals. They told me, slow down, stop working, don't stress, get out of the direct sunlight. Whatever the problem was, the spikes were good signals, but the overall pain was useless. That's where hypnosis and energy healing are fantastic for releasing those sort of things. So I'd like anybody that's dealing with pain to ponder upon those things and reach out to somebody like yourself or myself or one of the other million hypnotists around the world who can do anything with pain.
I always tell people that pain is also not the enemy. It's a friend, and we should get into alignment with the pain, not treat it like an enemy. And if we get into alignment with the pain and treat it as a friend, because it is a signal, it is there telling us something, then that takes the edge off the pain and we can turn down the dial on the pain. But we shouldn't ignore it, of course, because it is there for a reason. And if we stop fighting the pain, then it doesn't hurt us so much because it is trying to get our attention. That's all that's happening. So when we treat it as a friend or a companion, but pay attention to it, then it doesn't hurt us so much, and we can reduce it even down to zero, as long as we're mindful that it is there for a reason. And that helps a lot of my clients who come to me in agony, some of them, and within minutes, some of my clients tell me that they start smiling. That they said that then some of them start laughing. They say, "Keith, the pain, it's gone," and they're sort of wondering where it's gone, and it's quite funny. And
yeah.
I had one client who was talking to me over not Zoom, Facebook, and she was. I said to her, and I used an embedded command. I said, "How soon would you like that pain to go now?" And she said, "Well, now, of course." I said, "Shall we start then?" I said, "Shall we start now then?" And she said, "Well, yes." And within minutes, she started laughing. And I said, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" And she said, "It's worked, it's worked, it's worked." And then she stood up and started dancing around the room. And I called her back to the seat because I was worried she might fall over or something, because she was a large woman, and I didn't want her to get injured. And she told me that she hadn't been able to walk for months because of fibromyalgia. And I didn't even know what fibromyalgia was exactly at the time. So I was quickly Googling it to make sure I knew. And she hadn't been able to. And that was my first pain client, because when she told me she was in pain, I said to her, "This is your lucky day," because I'm a pain expert. Because as hypnotists, we have to be experts, don't we? And so I said, I'm a pain expert. This is your lucky day." And then I said, "How soon would you like that pain to go now?" Embedded command. and it went. So ever since then, I've been a pain expert. And it works. You just tell it to go, and let the client know that you have to be friends with the pain, stop fighting it, and accept it. And you just, to deal with pain, you have to change people's perception of it. And for those who are listening who are not hypnotists, you just change your perception. So instead of calling it pain, you can give it a color, give it a shape, change your perception of how you view the pain. So stop giving it a written name like PAIN. You can start talking about comfort level, and you can give it a color or a shape. So instead of having a written name, PAIN, you can give it more of a turn into more of an object that you can visualize. Then when you can visualize it, you can change it. You can change its shape, you can change its color, you can move it around, and you can take control of it. And if you've got control of it, you can change its intensity, or you can turn it into a dial, and you can turn it down, and then you can reduce it. But of course, you must be mindful not to reduce it to zero, because if you've got a broken leg, you need to deal with it immediately and wisely and responsibly. You shouldn't be cavalier with pain, particularly if it's in your left shoulder, because it might be a heart attack. And the medical disclaimer coming here, you need to get immediate emergency help when you do have pain, because it's a warning of something that needs urgent assistance. So don't ignore it. I think I've covered myself there, haven't I?
You have,
yeah.
Yes.
Because we're not giving medical advice on this show. So if you have pain, ask yourself, why have I got this pain, before you do anything with the pain. Always ask yourself, why is this pain here? And get expert advice from usually a doctor. In most cases, I would think, or go to the nearest pharmacy if that's closer than a doctor, and get advice about the pain. And once you've done that, then you can start to give yourself first aid for the discomfort, and then you'll be okay, I think, then, won't we?
Yeah.
But pain per se isn't the monster that we normally perceive it to be, because it's on this. I imagine it's on the same part of the brain that we have for all feelings, whether it be just touch or pain. It's the same part of the brain, isn't it?
I think so. I'm not a neuroscientist, so I won't confirm or deny.
Well, I'm an engineer.
Yes.
My background is in
That's right.
engineering, but it's all the same sort of stuff, really, isn't it? And it's all perception. And Kat's giving us a message there. Let's see what she's saying. Thank you for both so much for educating me on the subject of pain and discomfort. So pain is one of my favorite topics, because I've lived with it for so many years, because I'm in constant pain with my migraines that I get, and so I've had to learn to manage them, and that's been a blessing, because it's shown me how to help so many people. You've gone very your eyes have glazed over, I think, Lance. Or am I imagining it? Have I mesmerized you?
What was that?
Have I mesmerized you?
No.
Probably not. But it's been wonderful talking to you. It's been 45 minutes now, and we've been talking for 45 minutes, and we must do this again, I think. But would you like to tell us about your website and give us the names of any resources that you might like to share with our listener?
My website is branchesofhealing.com.au. That's got my podcast on it, which I haven't recorded anything for about 8 months, which is hopefully going to end that hiatus soon. I've moved and I should have some more time up my sleeve now, and that's called Akasha Talks. I have hypnotists, energy healers, and people like that on there. Resources, there is a thing on my website called a Reiki attunement meditation that I did at the beginning of COVID lockdown, that has a meditation you can listen to, and a basic introductory class that's for free that you can do to be attuned to Reiki, to be able to give yourself some self-healing if you want.
Good. Do listen to that Lance's podcasts. I've been listening to them. There's a very good one there with Lance and Kaz Riley that's worth listening to.
Yeah, Kaz is great.
I'm sure they're all worth listening to. It's just that the one with Kaz is the only one I've had a chance to listen to so far, because I've been really busy for the last 8 weeks on a podcast challenge. So that website was again
branchesofhealing.com.au.
branchesofhealing.com.au. .au.
Yes, for Australia.
Okay. So it's been great having you on the webinar podcast. This podcast will be available on YouTube. It will also be available on iTunes very soon, as soon as I upload it there. So it's been great having you. I hope I can interview you again in the future. That would be wonderful. I'm sure we'll find something to talk about. If anybody wants to contact me, you can get me on my website, which is hypnosensei.co.uk. You'll also find me on Facebook, which is facebook.com/hypnosensei. And you'll get me on my home phone number, which is a London number. It's my landline, and it's 0208 And I do sessions over Zoom if you want to book me for my assistance. So once again, Lance Baker, it's been fabulous having you on the show. Really enjoyed it. And I'm going to say bye-bye for now. And thanks, Daniel Ganame, for listening in the chat box, and Kat Jennings, Vecchioni. And that's been great. Any final words, Lance?
No, just thanks for having a chat. It was a good time.
Yep, it's been great. And it must be 4:45 over there.
It is, yes.
So I know my world time clocks.
Yes.
So and Kat Jennings Vecchioni, it must be about it must be about 6 a.m. in USA, I think. Am I talking? No, it must be about 2:45 a.m. in USA, East Coast USA. I think I'm right there. So anyway, thank you very much, Lance, and it's been great. I look forward to talking with you again. And this will be available almost immediately on Facebook as soon as I hit end. So we'll be able to listen to it again. Thanks very much, Lance. And Kat saying I'm correct. So bye-bye for now. And I'll have a chat with you again in a moment, Lance.
Okay.